How do you find self-motivation? More importantly, how do you make yourself do the boring things that are a part of the process? They're just the grind. On the way to success, on the way to achieving any goal, there's a grind. There's a little dip, as Seth Godin likes to call that. And in that dip, you have to hustle, you have to work hard, you have to grind through, and it's not very exciting. It's not something that inspires you. It's not something that you can look at as a challenge. It's actually often boring and it's just completely uninspiring. So how do you find motivation to do these things? And that's something I want to cover in this video for you guys, because often we don't have a hard time finding motivation for big challenges. We can kind of amp ourselves up, there's a lot of excitement going on, there's a lot of emotion, and we get it done. But when it comes to small things such as replying to an email, from a person, or that you don't necessarily want to reply immediately, things that you feel like you have to reply to, things that are like homework, you have to do it, you know that you have to do it, and it's just so hard for you to do it. You know how the process is going to look like. Things like studying for an exam. You know that the exam is going to come, you know pretty much what is going to be in there, you know what you need to study, you know the process, but you just don't do it. And what's the problem with that? How can you make yourself do those things? Maybe there's a project at work that it's kind of a side thing, you don't see the meaning of it, and you just procrastinate on it. There's some little thing that you have to change, maybe you're a business owner, you have to change something on your website, and you just don't have the motivation to do that. So how do we tackle that? Well, in this video, I want to share with you something that I find very, very helpful. Something that's probably one of the best pieces of advice that I ever heard on motivation. It actually stems from the theory of self-determination theory of motivation. This is a theory, it's been a while since it came around, and it's a theory that is very, very complex. I'm going to try to summarize that a little bit in this video with the help of some of the recent books I read. One book specifically that really goes really well into this topic, which is the Smarter, Faster, Better from Charles Duhigg. I'm going to link that book in the description below for you guys as well. It has a really good section on self-motivation, on finding motivation, overcoming obstacles, and things related to that. But in this video, I'm going to try to give you a quick summary of tips that are really, really helpful for me. So I'm going to break this down into two parts. Well, when you tackle a certain chore, a certain task that you feel like you have to do, that's the first part of the problem, because you feel like you have to do it. That's why it's not very motivating to do so, because we don't like to engage in things that we feel like we don't have control of. And that's one thing with this particular chore or any other chore where you feel like you don't have control, is that we'll lack motivation to do it. And that's why we want to change that chore into a choice. We want to switch that to something that we want to do. So a great example here, let's say you are procrastinating on doing your emails, right? You have a bunch of emails in your inbox, you know you need to reply, or something related to your school or your work. And the way, let's say the email text is like, hey, let's meet up for lunch in 2 days. And it's maybe a person that you don't necessarily want to meet that time. It's like not something that you find that is the appropriate time for that. Now in that situation, what you can do instead of procrastinating on the email, which is something that is like the first instinct, is just delay it and just forget about it. The second thing you could do that would actually get you more motivated is to make a choice in that decision. Just make a decision and say, hey, we can do that dinner or that lunch or whatever you want, but it has to be at this time, in this place, it has to be this, and I have 30 minutes to do so, right? So you're imposing a little bit of your own intent. You're adding a little bit of your own choice to the matter, and that will make you more motivated. And not just when it comes to email, but when it comes to anything that you can turn a chore into a choice, something that is your conscious decision, so you're actually changing the outcome, you have the power, you have the control over it, it's gonna make you feel more motivated, it's gonna make you feel more inspired to do that exact thing. And the second part of this equation is actually making sure that the thing that you're doing, that you're turning that chore into a choice, that you make sure that that choice and that chore is actually something meaningful. Because oftentimes when we do things, we can't see the end result. I can't see the end result of initially me replying to certain comments I reply to every comment on every video, you guys probably noticed that. But initially, when I reply to a comment, sometimes you would forget how much of an impact that really has, because in the moment you're like, okay, it's a comment and it's a reply. But it's much more deeper than that, because if you think about it, every reply to a comment might actually inspire one of you guys, might give me a great video idea, might share some extra value for someone who is watching, like a third party who's not even engaging, and then they might tell that to someone else, and that someone else might tell that to someone else, and all of a sudden you're reaching 100 people with just one comment. right? And that's helping the world and making the world a better place, making the world a little bit of a healthier place. One great example of actually from the book, Smarter, Faster, Better, is how a college professor hated to grade the exams from his students. And what he did, his kind of philosophy was, well, okay, why am I grading this? Just ask yourself why. Why are you doing this task? And try to find the loop. Ask yourself why until you reach the end point. And he was thinking, well, if I grade these students' papers, the college is going to be happy. And then when the college is happy, they're going to give me more funds for my research. And when I get more funds for my research, I can actually invest more time into doing my cancer research. And then when I invest more time in doing my cancer research, I can find a cure for cancer and I'm going to save millions of lives. Right? And that's all coming from the fact that he's actually grading the student's paper in the middle of the night when he's not very inspired to do so. So reminding yourself of the why and of the end result of the whole loop, of the whole success path is extremely, extremely helpful. And again, changing the chore into a choice will ultimately kind of frame your mind in a way that you have choices. Because we often forget that in the day-to-day kind of reactive mode that we're in, we often feel like we have to do all these things. But ultimately, you have a choice. Maybe you can't change everything about it, but you can still do something about it. You can still influence it a little bit. That little bit is enough for you to get motivated to do so. And this is something that I'm going to keep very short. This was very, very helpful for me. Now, first thing to understand here, and the last thing that I'm going to mention, is that this is a skill, right? This is not something you can just implement immediately and find it to be life-changing. This is a skill of reframing each situation and reminding yourself of the why that you will have to practice. When you practice this skill, what happens is that the skill now becomes more automatic through habit, and when it becomes more automatic, you know what happens? Your motivation becomes more automatic. And you know what happens when your motivation becomes more automatic? You get more stuff done. What happens when you get more stuff done? You become more successful. What happens when you become more successful? Well, you can make the world a better place, and you can make this world a little bit of a better place because you were here. And that's ultimately all that we want. That's ultimately the goal of every single person, at least. Well, I'm sure that watching this channel, you guys who love personal development, same as I am, that's our goal. So hope you guys enjoy this quick video here on motivation. Let me know in the comments below how this resonated with you. Aside from that, make sure to hit that subscribe button below to support the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.